Hi, my name's Cal. I'm the director and the founder of KCP. Today we're going to be talking about and highlight the current issues our youths face in Birmingham with certain problems we have which are on the rise. Knife crime, drug crime, alcohol abuse, many other violence within the communities on the rise. Um, Today we will be talking and exploring some of the issues we have within Birmingham, our community.
Serious youth violence and gang activity is quite a significant issue that we are dealing with here in the West Midlands, but it's also a national issue as well. We've seen gang violence actually increasing over the last 5 or 6 years here in the West Midlands, and the number of violent incidences have increased by over 50% during that period.
Drug crime, gang crime, knife crime, gun crime, anything you name under a crime, we've done it. Nowadays, nothing's legal, Everything's illegal, so we gotta do what we gotta do. I ain't scared of getting caught. You gotta be smart in the criminal activity.
Right, as a local councillor in the ward of Olieg, we have quite a large BAME community. Now, I'm not saying gang activity only happens within the BAME community, but we have had a number of quite big incidents in the ward of gang activity where it spilled over into my ward. So I can actually say that in the ward of Olied, we have had issues with gang activity. In the national average, I would say in a ward like mine in Answorth and the surrounding areas, the issues do seem to be getting worse, and they do seem to be worse than other parts of the country. But I have to say on record, I haven't got the actual statistics, but the residents have been complaining more about gang activity in the local area.
Do you believe there's a set path to gang involvement, or do you believe there's multiple avenues or where people get?
My background is health, and what we've seen in wards like mine are issues around health inequalities. We have issues pertaining to poverty. We have issues with one-parent families. We have issues with employment. We have issues with education. So take, for instance, the issue around education. If a child is going to school and the young person is hungry, how are they ever going to learn? In some households in my ward, they haven't even got electricity, so they're actually surviving. They've got no electricity, they have no food in the house, they're going to school late, they're not learning, and it's always young people like this that become susceptible to violent criminals who then groom them and bring them into violent activities. So we need to tackle the issue at the roots and look at why so many of our families are living in poverty. We have had 10 years of austerity in cities like Birmingham, which hasn't helped, but we have had poverty long before that, but it has been exacerbated, and since COVID-19 it has absolutely become a tsunami where the issues have got worse.
So during the first lockdown, what we actually saw was a massive reduction in gang activity and violence in the West Midlands, because obviously everybody was in lockdown. However, as soon as the restrictions started to lift, we saw activity go back to where it was before the lockdown happened. What we also saw very interesting was how the gangs adapted to the situation that they faced. So previously they used to send children on public transport into other areas so they can deal with their drugs, we call those county lines issues. Because there was less people on public transport, and they would have spotted a young person on an empty carriage on a train, they started to use taxis as a way of transporting young people to different parts of the country. So although the activity decreased at the first lockdown, what we've actually now seen is the activity going back to where it was before the lockdown. In fact, it's increasing, because what the pandemic has done, unfortunately, is has resulted in increased numbers of unemployment. But also, a lot of young people being out of school, so they've been more vulnerable to exploitation by these gangs.
That's it. So why did you like choose to join?
To be honest, with this time in life, it got hard, you know. I went through all that education process and everything, you get me? Like, go college, study, just like how everyone's normal mom and dad tell them to do, you get me? So I come to a stage like, yo, I thought it's not for me. Sometimes education ain't for me. I can't go uni and spend 4 years and do what? Study. And then look for a job. And man ain't getting employed or nothing. So man had to hit the roads, you get me? Straight,
You get me?
hit the roads, made money. And bro, I'm nice, you get me? Whatever big man tells me, T over tells me he over to do, man gotta do. That's it, man.
My name's Khadija. I have a 14-year-old son that I feel who got groomed into this gangster life, and it's very painful to see all the changes in him from a nice young sweet boy who spent a lot of time with his family. Suddenly he has no time for us. His appearance, his mannerism, his ways of all changed. I've got two sons. There's an age difference between the younger and the older one. The older one, when he started to get near school leaving age, he started to change, become a bit secretive and quiet, spend a lot of time in his bedroom. But when he was out for long periods of time, I honestly thought he was just out with his friends. But apparently it came to light that he was selling weed in the area, and I was living in the inner city area, and I couldn't acknowledge that my son would do something like that until it came to a head. The police came to the house one evening and ransacked the kitchen looking for drugs. And then there was another incident where he was dealing on someone's patch. I was a much older, experienced man who didn't take too kindly to it and was going to actually put him in hospital. And so that's where his dad's friends intervened and got the older drug dealer to leave him alone. And that was a wake-up call for my older son. He decided then this isn't the life for him, it's too risky. And so eventually he started getting jobs and just carrying on life as he should do as a young boy leaving school. And then I've got a younger son. When he got to about 10, my marriage broke up and his personality changed completely. From coming from a nice home, holidays abroad, nice cars, toys, whatever he wanted, to living in rented accommodation.
It's such a complex issue and so many different areas. A young person getting expelled from school is one of the key ways for them to get into gang activity, and statistics show they are more likely to end up there, yet schools still expel them rather than seek out organisations like ours to support them within the educational setting. I think we need to really change the way that we think about supporting young people, and whether or not it's revisiting how we actually view them and seeing some young people as victims within the context of a gang, because I think often they're just seen as the perpetrators when exploitation, grooming plays a huge part of young people sometimes ending up in a gang.
I know you mentioned poverty and its effect on the society, but do you believe there's other factors that contribute to people's decision into joining gangs?
Young people sometimes want fast money, and sometimes when you want things in a hurry and they're not attaining things educationally, they will look at doing it another way. Sometimes it's a young person that has been groomed by an adult, and again, it's not something where they want to join, but they're lured into that activity, and then they get trapped and they don't know how to get out. So it's not always just poverty, but it doesn't help if you're in certain types of families And also, if you haven't got the emotional, psychological support that you need to steer you away from things like that. But saying that, it doesn't mean that other types of young people don't get involved in gang activity. I do believe, and this is a personal view, I do believe that certain groups are more susceptible than others. I think anybody can join a gang. Because, you know, sometimes when you're in a gang, what is a gang? You have to define that term, because certain gangs are not a bad thing. When I was growing up, I had a friendship group, which today they would say was a female gang, but it was a positive group. It wasn't something that led to violence and crime. You know, we did everything together. You know, we played music, we went out clubbing, whatever it may be. We did it as a group. But some gangs, unfortunately, it leads to different types of activities, and it leads to sometimes death.
Do you think there's multiple variables that cause it?
I don't think there's one particular way of people becoming members of gangs. If you speak to people who have been engaged in the gang activity, there's a multiple reasons as to why they would join a gang. One of the things that we do see is quite a lot of people who are joining gangs are coming from inner city areas and deprived communities. So the socio-economic impact is driving people sometimes to join gangs. The other thing, I think that one of the other reasons why people are joining gangs is because they want to belong to someone as well, want to belong to a group, and there might be issues that they may be facing in their homes. There might have been issues in when they were young, and we call these things called the adverse child experiences that they might have suffered as children, and that then unfortunately gives them an opportunity to engage into a gang because they think they belong to a gang. It's a great opportunity sometimes to make money, sometimes to be able to make friends and belong to something as well. And those are some of the traits that we've seen as to why people will join gangs.
You know the money, money if you make, money, take the paper, you're gonna make paper, in other words, money. You make the money, you're nice. Whatever makes man money, that's what I'm gonna do. You get me? Bro. Life ain't easy, bro. A lot of people are taking the route, studying everything. But bro, when you see next man's hustling, making guap, I'm like, yo, man wanna be like you. You gotta do what you gotta do. You get what I'm saying, fam? Fat kias, everything. You get me?
Money, cars,
like they say, bro. You get the money, you get everything. You get what I'm saying? If I ain't got money, no girl wanna know me. I ain't got no money, no one wanna know me. I don't wanna be not broke ass boy. You get what I'm saying?
You respect. But does it being a gang affect your relationships with your girls and stuff like that?
Bro,
yeah, different girls every
I'll be honest with you, yeah? Money I have to make. If a girl says causes problem with money, bro, get the girl gun. I gotta make money. You get me? No woman time.
MOB, bro. Money over bitches.
You get me?
That's it.
More like that. Straight up. You get me?
Living
Straight
the
up.
life, man.
Bro, I'll be honest with you,
bro.
Man, been through pain in life. You get me? I got stabbed in my leg, stabbed in my ass. I got fucking sliced. Yeah, but bro, that's normal. In hospital, back next day, out active again. You get me? Man ain't gonna put man in hospital and yo, kick back on the bed and that. You get me? Straight back on the roads again, doing the same thing again. Make money.
Trying to help these kids.
In a positive way, I think everyone wants the best for these young people, and I think that there are some really good services out there actually. I just think there isn't enough of them. I think there needs to be more, and there needs to be more investment in this area. Young people are our future, and if we don't invest in them, how on earth are we going to see the developments for the future? I do think that the services that are out there do the best they can. I have nothing against them, but it's at the moment, it's just like, it's a snowball thing. It's too much. What needs doing is just too much for the services out there. They need extra staff, they need extra financial support, they need other people coming into the service with fresh ideas, and they need young people also finding their voices in this area to help in this area.
Do you believe that there are more preventive measures that can be taken to help these young kids alongside these services?
Preventative measures, I think, start with the parents. I think many of us know some of the families that will end up where they end up from the child is born. And I actually believe that the work needs to go on from mum is pregnant. And so unless we start working with mothers, grandmothers, grandfathers, fathers.
We have as I said, we have the Violence Reduction Unit, which is the main way of the Police Crime Commission investing in our communities to prevent violence and also to reduce gang activity. I mean, the other part of it, as I said, was enforcement, and we're bringing additional investment into police officers, into local neighbourhood teams, into response teams, into serious and organised crime teams to try and tackle these issues from an enforcement perspective. But in terms of prevention, as well as doing the case-based approach, so we're looking at those particular areas that have a significant increase in activity. We're putting wraparound services in those particular communities. We're also looking at how we can work with faith organisations, for instance, and so that they can provide some support into communities. We're looking at how we can work with schools and how we can empower communities so that they can support those communities and young people to divert them away from gang activities. I think one of the fundamental issues here is also, as I said, about adverse childhood experiences. And by ensuring that young people have a good life experience, good start in life, we could really prevent them from going into gangs. We can prevent them from being victims of knife crime, but also committing knife crime and other crimes. So what we're trying to do is work with local authorities, work with schools, work with the health sector to provide that support to identify those young people or those children that might be suffering from or might be at risk of adverse childhood experiences, so that we can help them divert them away from activity, that life path they may go into if we don't provide those interventions. It's very difficult because we're not going to save everybody, but we are committed to doing as much as we can to try and prevent gang activity and prevent violence.
The educational system, persons expelled, their chances of ending up in a gang go up. Person goes through the criminal justice system. Lammy report 2017, David Lammy reported that if you are a black male and you commit a crime, in comparison to your Caucasian counterparts, you are on average likely to get 10 more years for the same crime. Now, when we start addressing disparities like that, as communities and culturally, we stop feeling like we're oppressed. We stop feeling like there's no hope. We stop feeling like our community offers us nothing. We've got to start with the educational system, the criminal justice system. It all feeds into why young people end up in these gangs, because they get criminalised. I mean, I remember reading a few articles where someone had tried to commit suicide, and a railway track was the method that they attempted to use. They then got criminalised, although they were unwell, which means that if that person then becomes unwell, not only do they live with their mental health, they then have a criminal record which they need to explain to an employer every time they go. Things like that can be really, really disheartening when you've got something like that on a DBS, and then have to explain it. And for young people being criminalised for small things, we need to have better programs where we are diverting them, where we are educating them around drug use, the impact, putting in the protective factors around ACEs, and our organisation's actually developing a mental program that actually addresses those sorts of things. A desistance program where we not only look at crime, we look at drug use, we look at a variety of different things, and we work on changing behaviours, not just focusing on gangs, because there's a lot of focus on gangs, but there are loads of different issues that build up that context to a gang member.
Well, really, you know, to be honest, we try telling them to get off the road, and if they're on it, if they want to do it, they come and join us.
100%. We don't force anyone, bro.
If they want to make money, you want to make guap.
Everyone wants to just prove their point to us. So if you want to prove their point to us, come prove their point. You get
what it is.
Let's see how much proving you got to do.
Don't lose hope. There are organisations like ours, there are so many grassroots organisations. We never turn anyone away. If we don't have the skills to support, we will support that young person to an organisation, make the referral and ensure that they are in services somewhere else. Don't lose hope. Communicate, try and speak to someone. If that life is something you want to change, come and speak to us. Find someone that you trust, speak to them and start that ball rolling. We will support you. There are so many other organisations that will support you, and even if you have been in a gang, it doesn't have to be your life. You can change, you can do different things, and even having a criminal record doesn't mean that you can't become an entrepreneur, run a business. And you know, let's be frank, if you've got someone out there who is selling drugs or something like that, they have other skills, and I don't think that we take into consideration enough that once we take someone out of a gang context, let's look at the skills that they've got, cross-transferable skills. They might be good with maths, they might be good with, I don't know, technology. Young people are really good. How do we turn those young people into entrepreneurs and give them hope? We've got to look at so many different things and start doing it very differently.
The other thing that worries me is that taking somebody's life, how would that family feel? How, all the pain, no one can replace another human being. You know, for me to live with that, my sons and that to another family, that would kill me every single day. And please, you know, it's not good. They should stop it.
Think of your life in 5 years' time. Where you be? What do you want to be? Do you want to be locked in a police cell with a toilet next to you, having to do whatever you do in front of another person in the cell, having to sleep in the same cell as someone and eat whatever they give you, locked in 4 walls? What would that be like? Why don't you just want your freedom to go on holiday, to have a family, to have a girlfriend, to do nice things, have a car, save up, have a future?
Hi, my name is Noah Lindsay. I'm working for Chaos Community Project as a volunteer. We work with people who are vulnerable, people who've got mixed needs in the community, and it's been particularly pertinent and relevant given the current pandemic. Well, one of the main things is that once you're in, it's hard to get out. Once you're involved in activities, it's almost it's a slippery slope. Because what we see, you know, working at KCP, working with other organisations, the path, there isn't always a sort of strong alternative, strong hand that can actually prevent you or stop you from sort of falling or slowing down. There's a lot of talk, there's a lot of involvement with police and other agencies. But even then, if you look at it, you know, these young people are still involved in gangs. They're hard to get out. They're hard to access. It isn't easy because of the likelihood of revenge, punishment, people telling you on what you've done. So you're kind of locked into a system that perhaps you didn't understand, and it's very, very hard to then suddenly walk away. You're not able to walk away. You're not allowed to walk away. You're then part of that group, and even if you want to get out, it's very, very difficult to get out.
Come into play, and in terms of partnership working, multi-agency working with West Midlands Police and other organisations to prevent youth crime and obviously to promote youth education come into play so that they can support and work in partnership with the council, other local authorities and possibly other voluntary organisations to, you know, get a better outcome for these youngsters. newer, more voluntary organisations such as Cal's community projects. I've known Cal for most of my life, and I know that he's a well-educated individual who is sort of sincere in helping the community and educating the youth for the betterment of themselves.
These are extraordinarily hard times for so many of us, and I think first of all we need to acknowledge that and just know that it just is hard, and it's something that we need to get through. And then the other thing is that it's so important to connect with people. So whether it's initiatives like KCP or so many other organisations that all need funding and all need support to that are offering experiences for people that help people to feel less lonely and to feel supported. So I know KCP offers mentoring, and there's community, there's walking out in nature, anything that will get you to feel more positive, and that even in really difficult circumstances there's still something you can do, whether it's just for your own health or thinking more positively about your situation, and just what can you do.
That's right. A lot of respect to Cal. We work together with these youngsters now. You can see what I do is on the weekends I get the youths here. We have about 40 to 50 youths that come here. With Corona now, it's been lesson. See, the thing is, when you got something, see, this is not, because it's my business, I could be running this on the weekend. When I'm running on the weekends, I can't get the youths in. But on the weekend, if I got something here, I don't have anything going on, I bring the youths in, I run them on the circuit. So when these kids are go home, they're going to focus, and I push a thing into them. Each kid, I look at individually, and I work with every kid individually, because every kid has his own, he has his own talent. And I don't want these talents to be wasted. See, the thing is, I've been working, me and Cal knows as well, that we've been working around these kids for a while now. We don't get any funding. Everything that we do from our own pocket. And this is it. All we need is more community centres, more things. If you ain't got nowhere where you're gonna put these kids in, and they're in sports, wrestling, boxing, or playing some sort of snooker or some sort of sport, these kids are gonna be hanging around the corner. And once the kids are around the corner, trouble ain't far from them.
I have been Cal from KCP. Thank you for watching, guys. And to my youths, no to knives, no to guns, yes to life.